I always preach that we shouldn't hate for the sake of hating. I really try to. And I find when I talk about a lot of the modern myths, science fiction that I've enjoyed for my entire life, that have been soured by people using them as platforms to espouse their rhetoric and propaganda and division, and we very much know that is Alex Kurtzman's goal. He is very unabashed about it. He wants to push far leftism, use Star Trek as a platform for this stuff. I'm gonna try and get through reviewing. I'm gonna try and get through reviewing this entire season. I didn't even get through all of season 2. I couldn't do it. I got halfway through and I was done. And I know I don't have a great track record in reviewing entire seasons because I usually just get fed up with them at some point. But I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best not to be a hater. It's hard when you're dealing with material that's just not really that good. But I'm going to try. I'm going to try this year. I'm going to try. It's, gods, man. I just want Star Trek back. I don't know what this is, but it's not Star Trek. There are some other people that have already covered this. I know Gary Nerdrotic usually does these reviews, short reviews, right after the show comes out. Go check him out. I haven't seen that yet. I haven't watched anyone's review on this because I wanted to get my own take on it, give my own feelings on it without anyone else's influence. Can't wait for Lord Doomcock to tear this up. Can't wait to see what Mecha Randoms, that Star Wars girl. Can't wait to see what they have to say. To anybody who stops by to see this review, thank you for coming through. Hit the like or the dislike. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think of my review, please. Everybody across the board. And let's get to it. All right? So Season 3, Episode 1 is called The Hope That Is You, Part 1. Sorry, I'm going to be looking down a lot because I left a lot of notes about this one. Before I begin, I want to say that there are actors on this show that I have enjoyed in the past and in other shows, in other movies. Doug Jones wasn't in this episode. Doug Jones is like the one guy that I really enjoy. Saru is the most Star Trek-like character out of all of Kurtzman Trek. I like Sonequa Martin Green, and I've said this I don't know how many times. I like Sonequa Martin Green. I think she's a beautiful, bubbly personality. I think that they really have done a disservice to her by making her this robotic Mary Sue character. But in this episode, we actually get to see her personality a little bit, albeit in strange means. But regardless, you get to see, in my opinion, a little more of who she is. Like a little more of her natural character, her herself, Sonequa coming through through Michael Burnham, and I actually like that. We start out with some guy. I think they mentioned his name once, so I couldn't even figure out his name. He's some guy. He looks like he's Indian, and he's going through this normal routine. Waking up and doing his thing. Had a parrot with like a clock on it. I guess it was an alarm clock. I have to say that the graphics were cool. I did like them. All throughout this show, all throughout this episode, I did enjoy the computer graphics. I thought they were really cool. So kudos to the people that worked on that, on the CGI. It was done well. The technology fits, like one of my biggest gripes among, dozens about Discovery, Kurtzman Trek, has been that the technology is out of place. The technology is completely out of place for the 22nd century. It doesn't fit. You had things in the in that century that were like Voyager, post-Voyager era stuff, and that's a disservice to the canon. Not that Kurtzman Trek cares about canon, but I thought that was really cool looking, so we get to see this guy's morning routine. It looked good. The space battle was okay. It detected a time-space anomaly, and out comes Michael Burnham in her Iron Man suit. So this guy, Book is in a space battle with an orc. I don't know who the orcs are. I don't know. Are they Klingons? Because the Klingons in this universe look like orcs. Are they? I don't know what it was. Burnham shows up, right? And she almost dies. She's like flying toward this planet. Now, she's the hero of the series, so she's not going to die. But there's a part of me that's like, oh, please. That would be a great upset. You know what I mean? Like if they axed that character, this terribly written character. No hate on Sonequa. Right? If by chance you're watching this, sweetie, I hate what they did. I hate the writing and what they do with your character. I think I loved you in The Walking Dead. I just, I think you're beautiful, wonderful actress, wonderful personality. But oh my God, if they had killed her straight up and then had someone else take the forefront and maybe tried to make a major change to the show, that would have been surprising and satisfying. I think there's a couple moments in this one that are a little satisfying to people who don't like Kurtzman Trek, like myself. But of course she survives. Just gets up and the suit's messed up and she's crawling out of the dirt, throws up water. Kurtzman Trek. I understand what they were going for, the kind of realism they were going for. I can let it go. I'm not trying to hate just to hate, but. She just like takes this thing off. Like, did she even read to see if the atmosphere was breathable or whatever? Like, it's like every planet in this show is it's okay to breathe. Like, and no matter where you are, there's no detecting it. And maybe we can let that go because a little bit of that is peppered in. A little bit of that's peppered into to real Star Trek. So okay. I'm not going to grape on that too much. She gets up, then she destroys the suit. Right? You destroy that. You don't know what the conditions are. You don't know what's going on. You don't know where you are. You don't know anything about the situation. You don't know if you can utilize this technology. You don't know if you can use it for barter or correct a mistake or find your shit, whatever, right? Like, I don't understand. Like, maybe was it going to explode or something? I have no idea. But anyway, she sends this thing off and it destroys itself. Whatever. Okay. Then she has this, like, moment of delirium where she's, trying to she's like repeating who she is and all this stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe temporal distortion, maybe. I don't know. It was silly. At least they gave the effort of, when she was trying to get up, she was like, her back was hurting. You just fell out of a freaking atmosphere and onto the earth in an Iron Man suit. Like, why is there not broken bones? There's something more serious than just an ache. Kurtzman Trek. Now I don't have, like I said, I didn't really watch most of the last season. I couldn't stomach it. It got so bad. The Klingorks are hard to watch. I want to watch anything Klingork. That's been a turn off for me since the very first episode, the very first season. It's just complete disrespect. And if you don't know, the orcs were redesigned that way by Kurtzman and his flunkies, because they were the representations of what Trump supporters look like. Just nonsense being injected, complete disrespect to the canon. All right. But I digress. So right before she destroys the suit, she finds out what year she's in. It's 3188. Okay. She tries to detect life, and there's life detected. Okay. I guess, it's Kurtzman Trek, so what does it matter? The suit is apparently can do all this stuff. Oh, Kurtzman Trek. She celebrates about there being life. Cool. Destroys the suit. Okay. I'm trying. We're going to get to... I'm actually happier about some other stuff that happens further into this episode. So she's like walking around and she meets up with this guy, right? This black dude, good looking actor. Actually, I liked his acting. Forgive me, I don't know the name of the actor at the moment. It's the book character, Cleveland Booker, something like that. Whatever his name is. And I liked him. He shows up and he's very aggressive and doesn't want nothing to do with her, and she's got to force herself into a situation. Why do you guys write this character as being so insufferable? I do not understand why they write this character to be unlikable. It's like the objective is to make Michael Burnham the most unlikable Mary Sue ever. Like they're trying to outdo Rey in Star Wars. She shows up and this guy's bigger and he's good at hand-to-hand combat and he's got a weapon on him and he knocks the phaser right out of her hand. But the moment that she needs to, she can beat this bigger guy up. Right? This woman power. She could beat this bigger guy up, of course, because she's Michael Burnham and, the bestest ever. That made me laugh. Like, it's just like, all right, par for the course. You know what I mean? Like, logic doesn't matter. I'm sorry. That dude, the size of that guy, would have overpowered her. And, and they show that he's capable in the first few seconds of this meeting, but Mary Sue's Kurtzman Trek, modern day sexist Hollywood. She can beat up an opponent who's got a good probably 50, 60 pounds on her, just whatever. So they have this conversation. He doesn't want to give her name. He doesn't even want to know her name. He doesn't want to give his name, don't want to know her name. Starts explaining about the problem of her showing up in a space anomaly and the attention that it gives. And she gets offended by being called Rocket Girl. Don't call me Rocket Girl. Get the what? What? I don't even understand. Whatever. It's whatever, bro. So after she beats up this bigger guy, and after she gets offended by being called Rocket Girl, then she becomes vulnerable. Then she's vulnerable, and she needs someone to help her. She needs anybody. She needs any random person to help her because she doesn't know what's going. Because she threw away all the technology that she had with the suit that she could have Mary Sued into saving her, communication, whatever. It's gobbledygook. They could have done that better. They could have done it better. But, okay, the story trudges on. They made her vulnerable for a minute. She actually needed a man's help. But it's, a man of color. So it's much easier for them to accept that within the story. If it had been a white dude, he'd have been a total. He'd have been absolute garbage, and she not only would have kicked his ass, she would have killed him. You know what I mean? But he's black, so he's safe. He brings her on the ship, his ship, and the inside of the ship was cool looking. I have no gripes in this episode whatsoever with the graphics or most of the design of the sets. And of the ships and that trade hub city that they eventually go to. I have no problem with that. I think a lot of it was done well. Kudos to the set designers. There was a lot of attention put into it. And it's forgivable. Understand this. Kurtzman Trek people. It's a lot more forgivable now that we are in a time period that is not annihilating, disrespecting, and complete contradiction to established Star Trek canon. It's easier to accept these things. So I'm able to appreciate what's being given, at least as far as designs, due to that fact. So just want to make that note. I'm not hating just for the sake to hate. I could sit here and say everything looked awful and the designs looked terrible and the technology was garbage. I could do that, but I think I'd be disingenuous in saying that. So the guy says he needs dilithium, and eventually, throughout this story, you find out that there was something called the burn. All the dilithium, about 120 years before 3188, was destroyed for some reason. I'm very, very sure that this will be connected to Michael Burnham and something that she has done, and she has to correct this and be the bestest ever and save everything. So he needs to get dilithium. They go to this trade hub. Forgive me, can't remember the name of the city. Didn't write it down. I'm sure it was there. I just didn't. I apologize. When they're trying to get in to this trade hub, you get some Andorians who, oddly enough, look kind of more like Klingons than Andorians. But it's an upgraded Andorian, 25% different, bad reboot. Everything's got to be 25% different because it's not real Trek. It's Kurtzman Trek. The Andorians didn't look bad. I was okay with the changes that they made. They kind of look like vampires, but they made them look more alien. I'm okay with that. The Orions look different, definitely 25% different. Still, I was okay with the Orions. I was okay. There's so much that, in my opinion, is bad with Kurtzman Trek that when I see something that's okay, it's great, to be honest. So, it was okay. They were cool. The interactions with the Andorians and the Orions at this trade hub were cool. Didn't really have a problem with that. They eventually get into this place. The book sets her up. She wants to go to a communication area to communicate with or find Discovery through subspace. He ends up leading her into an area that's a vault. She gets trapped by a energy field. Of course he's a man, so he's a bad guy. By the way, like I said, I'm going through this step by step and giving you my feelings on it because that changes later, of course. But she's trapped. He robs her. She starts getting interrogated by this Orion and this Andorian, and they shoot her with this drug. The most pleasant 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, in all of Star Trek Discovery takes place here. If you're a detractor or a fan of Kurtzman Trek, these are the 5 minutes that you want to see. Because if you're a fan, I think you'd enjoy it. Because, you're just a fan of this stuff. But if you're a detractor, there's a couple points that I'd like to make. First off, they let Sonequa Martin Green be Sonequa Martin Green. Like, they allow her natural, bubbly persona to shine through in this character. This character that is written in complete contrast to anything likable. Even though they had to give the character drugs to make it happen. That was cool. I was okay with that. She also admits to being the bestest ever, basically. I saved everybody. I'm the bestest. There's this moment where it's almost like humility. Almost. It doesn't get there, but it's, you can kind of read between the lines if you want to and see that, that's what I think they were trying to tell us. I don't know. I don't think anybody behind the scenes or creating this show has any real humility. So maybe I'm just reading into it, but I thought that was good. I liked that part. I laughed. I rarely laugh unless I'm laughing in disgust or on disbelief at anything Kurtzman Trek. And that scene had me laughing. I really enjoyed it. Then they go and they go to find Book, and it's her and Book, and they're surrounded in a freaking circle. They're surrounded with people with guns pointed at them, and she just kind of looks at him, and then it's the bestest ever moment. They absolutely fight their way out of being surrounded, hand-to-hand combat, surrounded by people with phasers or weapons. Energy weapons. Absolutely. No problem doing it. Just bestest ever. Fight their way out of it. They're isolated in a room behind a force field, or maybe it was before the force field, but Book, there's this weapon that I really thought was cool. A cool addition to the Kurtzman Trek arsenal. It was like some kind of gravity bomb or something, projected energy gravity bomb. Because I thought the effect was cool. Thought that weapon was pretty damn decent. We saw it once or twice. And then they emergency transport out. And this is when I remember that Kurtzman Trek is murder Trek. Straight murder Trek. There is so much killing, disintegration going on. This can be excused, in my opinion, to a degree. It can be excused because of the situation. Wouldn't have any idea what a stun setting would be on these things, and they are trying to kill them, I guess. But, really it comes down to bad writing. I don't know what it is about Kurtzman Trek that they love murder so much. They just love outright killing people all the time. It's pretty offensive. It's not Star Trek. It's not the Star Trek I remember. Not that, killing hasn't been a thing. It absolutely has. But it's so brazen and blatant, and they just don't care. It just reminds me of that scene in Picard where they're ripping out eyeballs and stuff. It's not Star Trek. Like, Kurtzman Trek is not Star Trek. I always I'll always say that. They need to get rid of all those Kurtzman and everybody he's hired. They need to get rid of them all. But I digress. Throughout this scene, they're transporting. They're going site to site transport. You know, if this had been something that wasn't Star Trek, that didn't have the Star Trek label, it'd be cool. But it does have a Star Trek label on it, so it's more offensive than cool. Get Murder Trek, you know? And so Murder Trek continues. There's a scene where they jump off of this ledge and they end up in the water. They transport into water. Don't know how exactly it's whatever. There's some fish that have bioluminescence that was pretty cool to look at. The scenery where they chose to shoot some of these locations, they're really cool. Don't have any issue with that. I thought that it's like the packaging of this show, right? The packaging of this show, at least as far as this episode, looks good. It is pretty. It's the writing itself. It's the fact that it's Kurtzman Murder Trek that is a turnoff. They get out of the water. They're sitting at the shore, and he does this chant mumbling thing, and this bioluminescent stuff comes on his forehead, and then a plant grows out of the water, and he squeezes this plant, and like goo comes out of it, and this goo can heal wounds, and Michael Burnham has a wound. And it's just, I was laughing that whole time. I was laughing at that whole time. Like I said, the concept of it, if it was in real Trek, might have been cool. It seems more like built for some other type of science fiction. I mean, but I just had to laugh at it. I had to laugh that one off. So, Book finally puts two and two together that she's a time traveler. So now we're starting to move away from he's a toxic male to he speaks to plants and he's a good guy now. I don't know. I understand what they were kind of shooting for with this character. I don't have that many gripes with him. Like I said, I actually kind of like Cleveland. And I try very hard not to just come down on anything this show represents because it's Murder Trek. But it's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult to appreciate any kind of art when the people who are creating the art hate you. Like Kurtzman hates me. He's a self-hating racist. And so he hates straight white men. So he hates me. And I'm a traditional Star Trek fan. So he double hates me. And so it is hard to try and appreciate this. So, after the talking to plants scene, he's summoning plants. The Andorians and the Orions and those orcs show up. And they capture them again. What was the point of the last 10 minutes? What was the point of the last 10, 15 minutes of the show? Of all that running around and all that? What was the point? I don't understand the point of it. They make Book reveal his ship, and they put in the code, and then the ship shows up, and then this giant worm comes out and starts eating everyone, because it's Murder Trek. Starts murdering everyone, and then almost takes out Michael Burnham, swallows Michael Burnham, and at that point I'm like, I know she's, she fell from the freaking sky in a goddamn Iron Man suit and didn't die, so she's fine. And he does his mumbo jumbo mumbling, and little things come up on his forehead, and he talks to the worm, and the worm spits her out. Yay! First thing I thought when I saw this ship was it was half the Millennium Falcon. The bridge is on one side, and it's like a boomerang kind of design. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, that's a ripoff of the Millennium Falcon, that kind of design. But, or a B-Wing. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. I don't really like the design of the ship. I thought the interior looked better. But okay, it's the future. Maybe that's the design of the future, whatever. Okay, I'm not going to come down on it too much. I just didn't really like the design of the ship. That's it. You come to find out that Cleveland Booker works at an animal rescue. So he is a good guy. He's for the animals. And so he has an animal rescue with all his brethren. And they release the worm into a lake where the worm can have sex and make babies now. And then he finally says, well, I think I might know someone that can help you. I get what they were going for. Can character didn't know who this person was rejected the idea of even knowing who she was, robs her. They end up in a common strife together, running from the Orions and the Andorians, and then, you know, she eventually comes with him to his animal rescue, his space animal rescue, and now a bond has been formed. So they go to this thing. It's a courier waypoint. It used to be a Federation outpost. It's got one dude running it. This dude has been sitting in this base. His grandfather was there. His dad was there. And now he's there. Now his grandfather was a commissioned officer. His dad was a commissioned officer. And he's not. So dad didn't, like, give him a commission or anything, whatever. All right? But he's been sitting on this thing for 40 effing years. He's been sitting on this thing for, right? Like, you know, he's watching over the lighthouse. Okay. But he has a Federation flag that he hasn't hung up because he's not a commissioned officer, even though he's, like, running this Federation outpost, hoping that a Federation officer shows up. 40 years, right? And, okay, he's been sitting here for this long. He has the ability to scan 600 light years, 30 sectors. He can detect 2 different Federation ships there. But in 40 years, no one's ever showed up. 2 Federation ships out there. But, you know, who knows how many in the last 40 years he's been able to detect. Didn't communicate one of them and say, hey, would you give me a commission so I can hang up this flag? Some of the most ridiculousness. And all of this was so that Michael Burnham could show up and give him a commission and hang the flag and say that she's going to save the universe because she's the bestest ever. Please with this terrible writing. Please stop. Please. So they scan for the ship and they can't find the Discovery, which means, you know, it could show up tomorrow or it could show up in 1,000 years. That's the way they put it. And, of course it's going to show up. Yes, of course it's going to show up. Yeah. I'm not sure how long they're going to give us the Michael Burnham show before it shows up, you know, but it's whatever. If they have Sonequa acting like she was on drugs for the rest of the season, like a likable, over the top, but a likable character, it might be more palatable. But, you know, it's that was the highlight of the show. That was the highlight of this show, was her being drugged out for 5 minutes. And then admitting that she's the bestest ever, basically. That was the best part of it. They had me laughing. They close out the show with them standing in front of the Federation flag. You know, she's going to save the universe. She's going to, you know, again, she's going to save the Federation and everything. So that's my review. That's my review of Kurtzman Trek. Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery, The Hope That Is You, Part 1. It didn't make me want to violently throw up. Because maybe it's because I've come to expect, you know, a subpar show. You know, it's Kurtzman Trek, so I don't really consider it Star Trek. But all in all, my takeaways from this are, it is absolutely easier to accept this strange technology, this advanced technology in the future, where it should have been. This show should have been set in the future from the get. You know, they did mention the temporal wars, and that the temporal wars have been over, and that time travel have been outlawed, but I don't know exactly how you would, even if you outlawed something and the Federation had fallen apart, and there was, you know, widespread use of time travel, I don't understand how that ban would have been put into place, and I don't understand, like, I don't, where are the Federation time ships is one of my biggest gripes. Okay, even if the temporal wars are over, they could travel all throughout time. Where are the Federation time ships that are going to correct things? And why would the Federation allow this burn to happen? Why couldn't they figure it out? As we know, of course, Burnham will figure it out. She will save the galaxy. This show is the Michael Burnham show. It's been like that since the beginning. She's not even the captain. It doesn't make sense. This, you know, it's Kurtzman Trek doesn't really make sense as a whole. But I'm looking forward to seeing what Doug Jones does. Like I said, I don't know. He could have had some great moments in season 2, but I checked out halfway through season 2. Couldn't do it. Klingon time crystals. I'm done. What the hell? What is going on in this show? But I'm going to try and cover this whole season. I'm going to try. I'm going to make an effort. I know that I don't have a good track record with covering shows. They usually check out in the first couple episodes because I just cannot do it. Last one I tried to do from Kurtzman Trek was Picard, and that was really offensive. Star Trek Picard was really, really bad, really offensive. There was some good things in it, but Discovery, it's murder Trek, bestest ever, identity politics, white man bad, straight man bad, it's going to be the same thing, especially after what Kurtzman said at the panel, a few months ago, said at the Star Trek panel, he's absolutely using it as a platform to espouse rhetoric, division, segregation, hate, racism, sexism, so I don't understand how people can support woke Hollywood. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Give me a like if you like this review. Give me a dislike if you don't. Man, either way, I appreciate you. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this episode, if I missed any critiques, if you disagree with anything that I said. I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear differing points of view. Thank you to everybody out there. Hail to the fandoms. Hail the Fandom Menace. I am author Stephen Walton, the Fandom Menace historian. And be good to each other. Peace.
The main thing is to protect these characters. Make sure that they still continue to live in the way that you created them. And that the universe of Star Wars continues to grow.
By 2018, far-left extremists in Hollywood had been perverting long-established, profitable science fiction properties as platforms to espouse divisive social propaganda. The vision of these creatives was to repurpose established franchises in the hopes of indoctrinating viewers into the bigoted groupthink of the American far-left ideology. Insanely wealthy producers and adult pretenders set to shame any fan who would not capitulate to their false narratives of virtue, using long-established weight in the legacy media to drive online hate mobs to attack any who dared speak against the woke narrative. Yet there were those who would not kneel before this oligarchy of money, media, and extremism. Those who had known the truth. Fandom is for everyone. The Fandom Menace Volume 2 covers the events of the year 2018 as a group of independent creators rose up together, inspiring the Star Wars fandom to speak out against the flagrant misuse of a property that was not meant to inspire division, but hope. Volume 2 will cover the voices who spoke out against cancel culture, such as the Gospel According to Mark with a C.
Thank God for Star Wars fans. If only Rian Johnson had said the same thing.
Mecha Random 42.
Star Trek, to me, is a hopeful, optimistic view of the future.
With chapters written by Stephanie Janicek, Smuggler's Cantina.
They're not answering any questions that the real fans want to know.
Jesse Milestone of Mindless Entertainment.
And I'm going to warn you right now, this here thing you're about to watch is probably going to involve a lot of yelling and a decent amount of swearing.
Itchy Baka of Disney Star Wars is dumb.
But this doesn't explain why, after Disney's acquisition of Star Wars, George would attend the premieres of The Force Awakens, Rogue One, The Last Jedi, and Solo.
And the Overlord himself, Dictor Van Doomcock.
Greetings, my friends. Our pop culture is under assault by corporations who would rather destroy our cultural heritage than build respectfully upon it.
This is an historical documentation of a group of people in the late 2000 teens who would not bow to the very worst in humanity, seeking to separate us along political lines while using our beloved modern mythologies to do so. They did not kneel. Will you? The Fandom Menace Volume 2, Rise of the Rebellion.